Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, YouTube. We're back here again doing another nerd report. Uh, you might like this setup due to the fact that I think we're going to have some warring factions in the space race for cellular. So, as usual, please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and then stay for the stories. So, this one, okay, I got a two-part. So today is a two-part story, all dealing within the same realm. But this one comes first. So T-Mobile customers have a reason to celebrate after the latest decision. So the decision came down. It's been, I'd say, about 6 or 8 months now, and the FCC has finally granted T-Mobile and SpaceX the waiver that they need to be able to go higher power with the SpaceX slash T-Mobile's radios in the United States. Well, one of the reasons why I give you the shortened version of the whole story, Verizon and AT&T and a couple of other vendors in the United States went to the FCC to complain and to stop T-Mobile and SpaceX from broadcasting on Band 2, which is what that T-Mobile and SpaceX are using to provide cellular coverage in dead areas. But overall, it's pretty much to be anywhere where service is going to be lacking. Let's call it what it is. So service is going to be lacking outside of metropolitan areas, rural areas. You're going to be driving down, the dirt road of your local town, and you're not going to have cell coverage. This is to bolster that coverage. So Verizon, AT&T, and a couple of other entities basically, joined forces to go to the FCC to basically say, hey, if they broadcast from space, then it's going to interfere with our Band 2 cellular sites. So everybody has, for the most part, all the ones that are involved have a section of Band 2, which is the 1.9 gigahertz spectrum that's being used. Now, normally that would not be a problem due to the fact that everybody is already on the ground, but this is because they're in space. You have to basically turn the volume up to be able to get the signal going to come down from space. SpaceX put in their waiver, and T-Mobile pretty much are trying to, get the FCC to not use the antiquated rules that were already in place for terrestrial networks. But Verizon and AT&T, which I'm just going to use them because they're the bigger entities that's on the complaint, they said that it would interfere with their Band 2 deployment because of what they call out-of-band emissions. So right here. So to give you the long and short of it is, if you turn up even though you have a cellular band that's separate from your competitor, you can bleed into their cellular band if your emissions are too high. So if you turn the volume up, even though the songs are different, I will start hearing your song in that spectrum band. Or that's just the layman's term way of describing it. So Verizon and AT&T are saying that there was going to be interference. I always was on the other end of the spectrum, saying that I don't think that there was going to be as much interference as they claimed it was going to end up being, because due to the fact that terrestrial cell phone companies pretty much put their cell sites on tall towers. At the worst case scenario for a cellular band to try to interfere, even though they're on separate channels, you are 6, maybe 8 miles from the nearest cell site, or as close as being on the same cellular site as your competitor. So that's probably one of the reasons why you end up seeing, multiple cell carriers on one tower. But the reason why I always thought differently about this was due to the fact that the closest cell carrier to something that's going to be on a satellite in space is going to be over 600 to 800 miles. So their argument was designed around power levels staying at the same terrestrial rate, though you're trying to communicate at 600 and 700 miles away. So that's where it gets kind of shaky about your argument. A few people, sent me some documentation, and I read it over. Still didn't really see the whole how that was going to interfere, especially if you know anything about RF. It looked kind of sketchy. I'm not going to say I'm a person who knows everything about RF, but I understand how it can work. But part of the problem is now that this is lifted, the competition is going to get very, very heated. It's going to get very, very crazy very fast. So now that T-Mobile and SpaceX is already in their beta side, they're going to be able to test this even more with already the users already have on board. They're already showing a competitive edge by letting people that's on Verizon and AT&T to even use their service for free until like June or July. So the competitive edge is already starting to show, and that's what I'm here for. I'm here for the competition. So it's always good to see competition. ATS, which is the company that's being used by AT&T and Verizon, they are still behind. They're in their waiver situation where they're trying to get more satellites in the sky, but they haven't got the FCC waiver yet to add more. More news will come out about that later on, and I'll be happy to talk about it. But that's story number one. And then now, I guess riding high off of their recent win with getting that waiver, SpaceX has decided that they need to go after Globalstar. So Globalstar is another satellite to cell competitor in this race. So hence the reason why I call it the Space Wars. And Globalstar is backed technically by Apple. Apple invested like over $1 billion into the company, and pretty much is going to be the sole proprietary user. They might end up branching out elsewhere, but Apple has sunk their teeth directly into this company, and that's who they decided to want to go with. But SpaceX wants to try to slow them down now, and in this continuous race that we're having right now, SpaceX says the iPhone satellite provider Globalstar should delay its launch until the FCC decides whether to revamp its 1.6 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz spectrum rules. So right now, Globalstar I think they're in the testing phase for those two frequency sets. SpaceX is arguing to say that they want to get a piece of the pie. So they want to get some of this spectrum so they can offer it up for use on their satellites also. But Globalstar is fighting back so they can use it for their terrestrial satellite network. So now SpaceX is shucking off AST, and now they're going after Globalstar. So as you can see, let's see here, that SpaceX is lobbying the FCC to block iPhone satellite provider Globalstar from launching a new constellation of 48 low Earth orbiting satellites. Let's see. This one is being funded by Apple, by $1 billion investment from Apple. However, SpaceX claims the FCC needs to dismiss the application and for the use of radio spectrum in the 1.6 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz bands. Now, using midband is obviously showing to be a little bit more robust in the whole satellite game, which I'm pretty surprised about. The fact that you're able to do some text messaging over the 1.9 has shown that if you got enough juice behind it in a large enough slice of spectrum that you can get a hold of, you can do some damage to even some of these terrestrial networks. But right now, there's more going on behind the scenes, and I'll be happy to report it. I'm just curious to see what this fight is going to end up coming out to be, due to the fact that now SpaceX has this win. Are they going to try to block others, which that's what it's starting to look like they're doing, or are they going to try to delay them the same exact way AT&T and Verizon was trying to delay SpaceX and T-Mobile? So that's what it's kind of starting to look like. Everybody's trying to delay everybody else. But let me know what you might think about this. I'm curious to see how far this is going to get up going. Global Star is backing Apple, and this might be Apple's way of trying to get into the cell phone industry and be that rugged phone for everybody. Also for their watches. So this could be a play for their watches also. You have the whole ecosystem, and you have that rugged watch that could communicate from space. I mean, you just basically need to have an open sky to be able to communicate. But keep that in mind with your opinion. Let me know what you might think. Like, share, and subscribe to the video. Tell me what you might think about what's currently going on with both first story and second story. T-Mobile's win. T-Mobile and SpaceX win over the other carriers to get their waiver granted, and now SpaceX turning their cannons to another competitor, trying to slow them down. But thank y'all for watching, and y'all have a good one.